Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things passion, purpose, and photography. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Swat. I am a wife, a mother to 3 boys, and I am a portrait photographer. I'm also a lover of all things creativity. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm so glad you stopped by again. And I just want to say thank you once again to all the people who have subscribed to this channel. I'm telling you, you guys are rock stars. You are making this growth really enjoyable for me, and I appreciate you. For everyone who has dropped a like, dropped a comment, I just want to say a great big thank you. I hope you'll stick around and stick with me as we grow together on this YouTube journey. You know, let's see where the adventure takes all of us, and I hope it's going to be fabulous and fun. So today you might be saying, Swat, what are we going to talk about today? What is the topic for today? Well, what we're going to talk about today is my experience as a Nigerian living in the US. I hope that it will be fun for you guys. You will enjoy the things I'm going to talk about, the things I'm going to mention, and see if you find any fun in it. Today is just going to be a chill day, a chill video. So let's get on with the to-do. It's a given that when you go to a new place, wherever that may be, you are going to be faced with differences that you are not accustomed to. Even if going to your neighbor's house, you know, living in the same society, same community. If you go to your neighbor's house to stay for a while or even visit for a day, there are things that they will be doing that will be so different from how you do it. You may even eat the same food, speak the same language, but it is granted that there are some things that they will do in their own home and their own, you know, peculiar culture to their home that will be very different from yours, and it will be new to you. So you can imagine the shock or the change you'll have to encounter when you move to a whole other country like I did. And there's some things I noticed are different about the US, different from Nigeria, you know, different from how we do things in our society, the way we operate, very different. Of course, nothing prepares you for that change, I'm telling you. It doesn't matter how many movies you've watched, how many shows, how many reality shows, or even real life, you know, news coverages. Nothing prepares you for actually living in a different society. You may think, I understand these people, I know these people, I've been watching them all my life, I understand how they speak, their accent is not strange to me, my accent might be strange to them, but nothing prepares you for actually living in that society and being faced with the differences. So that's what I'm going to talk about today. Let's go to the first point. My first point is the way we greeting. Back in Nigeria, when you're walking down the street, you're strolling, you're going on a walk, or wherever you are, when you encounter someone, if it's like one person, you say good morning or you say good afternoon. You know, especially when it's an elder, someone who looks much older than you. You'll be, good afternoon, sir, good afternoon, ma. And, you know, they will give you a greeting back. When I moved to the US, I thought it would be the same. I thought that was, I felt like that was a global thing. That when you're walking down the street and you see someone coming the other way, you just greet them, you say hello. So I remember that I would see someone walking, maybe I'm walking to the store or wherever, going to pick my son from school, and then there's someone coming on the opposite end, and I would be preparing to greet them. I would say good afternoon, and they would look at me like, who are you talking to? Why are you talking to me? Stop talking to me, get away from me. And it was a huge shock to me. In fact, some people, when they're coming from the opposite end, they will put their faces or their eyes down so they don't have to look at you. And that hit me so hard. when I would talk to my husband about it way back, he said that he felt the same way. He would be trying to greet people, and there would be this, this look of anxiety or fear, like, why is this person talking to me? So I had a neighbor back in Houston, and when we became a bit closer because our sons started playing together and became friends, I mentioned this thing to her. So my neighbor said to me that yes, that the first time she met my husband, she was walking down the street and he greeted her. And in her head, she was like, why is this person talking to me? Who is this man and why is he talking to me? The first thing that came to her head was that the man was trying to, check her out. I laughed so hard. I told her, no, that is how we are in our country. If you're walking wherever, you walk into an office, you're passing someone on the street, you just greet them. It's our culture, and it's seen as being courteous and that you have manners. If you just walk by someone and you don't greet them, it's kind of odd. So that is one thing I noticed about them. Now, on the point of greeting, like I said, that my neighbor, her son and my son became close and they became friends. So I'll call him D-Money. That was his nickname. That was the nickname we had for him. So D-Money would come over to play with my son and knock on the door. And when I would open the door, he'd be like, hello, Swat. Hey! The African, the Nigerian in me will arise with a passion and a fire that I want to just backhand. Nigerians, we backhand. And I would look at this boy like, are you okay? You are looking at a whole adult, the mother of your friend, and you're saying, hey, Swat. I didn't want to say anything at first. But after a while, I just said, hey, D-Money, where we come from, we don't call adults by their first name. So you have to greet me another way. I wasn't going to preempt him. I'll let him figure it out. So the next time he came, he said, hello, Zoe's mom. I'm like, okay, that sounds even worse. Like, it's extremely formal and cold. And I thought, okay, you know what? I said, D-Money, just say, hello, Miss Swat, or rather say, good afternoon, Miss Swat. He was like, okay. And after that, he would say, good afternoon, Miss Swat, good afternoon, Miss Swat. And I noticed that was a general thing. People here will greet and call you by your first name regardless of how much older you are to them. That was very difficult for me because I'm born and bred in Nigeria. It's in my blood, it's in my system. So I would be speaking with an elder and I'll say Mrs. or Mr. or Miss, and they would be like, that's so formal, you can just call me by my name. And it was so difficult for me to start calling people by their first name. To this day, it's very difficult for me, but I've gotten used to it now and I don't cringe as much as before. So that was how I encountered greeting in the US. Many years ago, while I was still living in Nigeria, there was this news that went out. I think I saw it on cable or I read it in a newspaper. I can't remember. But it was about a lady in the UK who died in her apartment. And no one knew until like 6 months later when a smell was coming out of her apartment and her mail had piled up and was pouring out. And I said to myself, how does someone die in their apartment and it takes 6 months for people to realize? It didn't make any sense to me until I moved to the US. Everyone it's a very individualistic society. You can be here and not see your neighbor for 2 weeks, 1 month, a month, and nobody is checking up on the other person. I'm not kidding you. That was so strange to me. In Nigeria, if I didn't see my neighbor for 2 weeks, two weeks, 2 days, I'll go and knock. Neighbor, is everything okay? Are you guys okay? Are you guys well? I've not seen you in 2 days. I hope everything is all right. Or they would come knock on my door. Knock. Hey, Swat. Hey, neighbor. How far now? I've not seen you in a while. Is everything okay? How's your son? How's your husband? So there is no way for you to just die and nobody will find you, because neighbors are constantly checking on you. Here, you can go months upon months, you will not see your neighbor. And even when you see them, it's like maybe they're driving out or you are driving out, or somehow you guys come out of your homes at the same time and you wave to each other. And if you're a little bit closer, you exchange greetings. Oh, how are you guys? How's everything? So that was something that was so strange to me. And it's an element of this society that still bothers me, because there's just something about being extremely neighborly. There's something about checking up on your neighbors constantly. It's I know in this society they like to stay on their own. They don't like people talking to them too much. They feel like you're getting into their business. But I feel like they're missing that warmth, that togetherness, that oneness that is in societies like Nigeria, where we check up on each other, we check up on one another, we make sure we're doing okay, no one is ill, everything is fine with you, you know. And I was even saying to a friend that back in Nigeria, I can just knock on my neighbor's door and say, do you have sugar? I've run out of this. I've run out of that. Please give me some. I'll get it back for you. And your neighbor might even say, get it back for me. What? No, don't worry about it. Here, you are dying on your own. You can't ask your neighbor for help. It's seen as intrusive. It's seen as rude. So that's something I really appreciate about our Nigerian society, that neighborliness. You know, it says it takes a village to raise a child. And in the Nigerian society, it really takes a village to lift each other up, to help one another. So that's another thing that I noticed about living in the US as a Nigerian. I haven't gotten used to that. I've just, I've adapted to it. So I've become used to just staying in my own home and not seeing my neighbors for a while. It gets really lonely. It's very lonely, I will not lie, but you adapt and you learn how to just move on from that. Yeah. I remember the first time I came to the US and my friend cooked, Nigerian friend. She made rice and stew. I bit into the beef and I spat it out. It tasted, the way I cannot describe it, I can only say it tasted fake. It didn't taste like meat. I had to ask her, what type of meat is this? She said beef, because I was so sure she was going to tell me it was another type of meat. Beef? It tasted so weird, like I was eating crocodile or snake or something. I couldn't believe it was beef. So that was something I had to get accustomed to also. The food, the taste. Now, thank goodness, I've always loved Chinese food. So, Chinese food was not strange to me. I'd never eaten Mexican. To this day, I haven't eaten Mexican food. That needs to be remedied. But looking at it, I feel like Mexican food will taste like our food. Thank God we have African stores almost everywhere. And depending on what town or city or state you live, African stores might be plentiful or sparse. So when I lived in Texas, in Houston, Houston is like second Nigeria. There are African stores everywhere. So you could keep up with eating Nigerian food, although it is very expensive. But now that I live in New Jersey, African stores I have to drive to another town. Thank God it's not too far to get Nigerian food. Anyway, another thing I notice is that they eat a lot of canned food. A lot of their food comes in cans. Beans, vegetables. I remember when I was watching a cooking show. I love watching cooking shows, by the way. I binge watch them. And I saw chicken broth in like a juice pack in a can. I'm like, chicken broth, beef broth, bone broth, they all come in cans or packs. And I was saying to myself, why? Why do you have to buy that? Because in Nigeria, you know now, when we're cooking, we start with boiling our meat, our chicken, and we get the broth or the stock, from that to continue with the cooking. So it was so strange to me that I will go to a store and in the freezer or the fridge, the cold section, I can get a beef stock or chicken stock in a pack. That was extremely, extremely strange to me, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I've always wondered, maybe I should try it, buy it, see what it's like. But no, I don't think I'll ever do that. I feel like it's not safe. So there's a lot of canned food here. All kinds of things come in cans. And in Nigeria, we cook from scratch a lot. Our food is generally or mainly organic, So our eating, I would say, is much healthier than feeding here in the US. Yes, so the things in the cans and fast food is everywhere. Living in Nigeria, I thought fast food was this amazing, wonderful experience to be had. But when I came here and I tried burger once, pizza, it didn't sit well with me. I really didn't enjoy it. I'm sure if I'd continued, I would have become hooked on it. But I'm so glad I didn't, because fast food is not the healthiest food to eat, especially if you're watching your weight and you're trying to be healthy. It is not the best way to go. People say it's cheaper, but imagine having to eat fast food all the time. It will do damage to your body, which leads me to the point where they eat out or order in a lot. I know we have bukas and restaurants in Nigeria, but we prioritize cooking at home and fresh cooking more than going to the buka or the local restaurant or ordering in. But here it's a lifestyle. Ordering in food, people don't have time to cook every day. And my next point will explain why that is. In Nigeria, you'd never have just the nuclear family. It's an extended family situation. So it's the dad, the mom, kids, and then sometimes you'll have cousins, relatives of all sorts. Maybe grandma and grandpa are living with you. You have house helps. Usually it's a situation where someone needs help with education or they want to better their life, so they come to the city. And the way to do that is to live with a family who will give them room and board, food, and maybe pay their school fees. And in exchange, you cook, you clean, and you take care or you babysit the kids. So in the Nigerian society, you never see just mom and dad and kids. There's always someone else living in the house. But in the US, most families, I dare say 99% of families in the US have the nuclear family system. Mom, dad, kids, period. So mom is working, dad is working, kids go to school. There's no one who's at home and cooking. And that's why I said that this point will explain why they don't cook all the time in this society. Who's going to be at home to cook? Everybody's going to work. Everybody's out of the house. The house is empty most of the day. And then dad comes home, he's tired. Mom comes home, she's tired. Who's going to start cooking from scratch? So the easiest thing is to pick up the phone, order in, get Uber Eats, Grubhub, whatever to bring the food to you. So it makes life much easier for them. At first, coming here, I was, cook every day or cook every other day. But after I lived here for a while, I understood. Yeah, people are too busy. There's no one at home. It's not like Nigeria, you have someone at home that will be cooking constantly, or you cook a huge mass like I used to do back in Nigeria and store in the freezer. It just seems easier to order in here. It's very expensive though, really expensive, but that is the only way to live and get it done here. I'm grateful that I live a life where I don't have to go into an office. I work from home as a portrait photographer, so I have the time to cook fresh, cook from scratch almost every day. So my children are growing with that. Once in a while, we have a treat where we order in pizza for the kids or order in some Chinese food that I like, but that is just once in a blue moon. It's few and far between because, hey, that money used to order in food can buy me a good amount of groceries. So there you go. One thing I really love about the society, the American society, is their relaxed lifestyle. Let me explain. You know how we are in Nigeria when we're going to church? You have to dress to the nines, gele to the gods. Iro and buba filling up everywhere, or your suit, your tie, makeup to the max, lashes, your heel shoes, children dressed like they're going to visit the Queen of England. Is there a queen now? Well, be then a Queen of England, And for me, who is very relaxed about such things, I don't like stress when it comes to my dressing or my fashion. I dress up like this. I'm not one of those women or those wives that the husband will tell you, I dress up and I have to wait for her. In fact, in our house, I dress up and I wait for everyone because I don't have time to waste. So coming to the US and going to church, oh my God, it was like I was set free from the shackles of overdressing. People would just wear their shorts, their jeans, t-shirt, a top, throw on something and go to church. I was like, oh my God, yes, I have found my freedom. I was so happy. What was that song from Sarafina? Freedom is coming tomorrow. My freedom had come, so I could just throw on a pair of jeans, my t-shirt, my baggy shirt, and just go to church. I felt so happy. Now, the one thing that shocked me as a Nigerian, and it took me a while to get used to it, was you get to church and at the foyer there's coffee and people will get their coffee. Okay, no worries. I thought we could just get the coffee, stand in the foyer and drink. People will be walking into church, and as church is going on, they're taking their coffee and they're sipping. Praise the Lord. Sip. Praise the Lord. Sip. Read. Open Bible. Read. And I'm like, Jesus is Lord. In the house of God, you have no respect for God. You are bringing your coffee and drinking. I remember back in Nigeria when I'll be in church and maybe I wanted something, in my mouth. The way I would bend in my seat, just crouch in my seat and get my tom-tom or a candy and throw in my mouth. And even as I'm sitting down, I will feel like thunder is going to strike me very soon. Hey, God is looking at this woman and saying, look at this child. You are taking sweets. You are eating candy in my presence. But here, they're crossing leg. They're drinking coffee in church. At first, I was like, these people no respect God, though. These people don't have respect for God at all. Almighty Jesus, you are drinking coffee in his presence. But after a while, okay, me too, I did it once. I confess. I did it once. So I took the cup of coffee into church and I drank it and I was so uncomfortable. I couldn't do it again. I did it once. I'm like, okay, it's done. So after that, if I had to get the coffee, I would make sure I drink it before I went into church. That Nigerian part in me that has respect for elders and respect for God Almighty, I just didn't feel right eating or drinking in the house of God. But every other thing about the relaxed lifestyle, the relaxed way in dressing, the just chill, taking it easy, Nigerians, we like to, I pass my neighbor. We like to impress with how we dress. We feel like if you don't dress good, you'll be looked down on, which is true in many situations, especially in Nigeria. If you don't dress and look like you have millions in your account, people look down on you and talk to you like you are street urchin, But I like that in the US, you can be walking down the streets in New York and a millionaire is walking down the street with you in their flip-flop, in their jeans, in their t-shirts. Maybe when you get closer, you'll realize, okay, this pair of pants they're wearing is expensive stuff, but people will be strolling down the street with you, and sometimes you can't even tell who is super rich and who is not. So that is something I really love about the American society, and it resonates with my personality. So living in the US has been super interesting as a Nigerian. There's so many things I'm still learning, the different accents in the US. When we are not here, you think there's only one American accent. No, there are several, and I'm still learning them, And being a Nigerian in the US has been extremely life-changing, extremely interesting, a learning process, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I'm really glad that I came to live here and learned some things about the world through the American lens. So if you're thinking of moving to the US or any other society for that matter, just prepare your mind that there will be a lot of things that will shock you, a lot of things that will confuse you, some things that will amuse you, but definitely things that will change you for the better, because we're all supposed to be growing and learning about this beautiful world we live in. Okay, my people, that is it for today. I'm so glad you hung out with me and you heard what I had to say today. I hope you keep coming back and getting to know me. And if you liked this video, please subscribe so that you can keep seeing my beautiful face, keep hearing my voice, and hearing what I have to say. Please give me a like and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about the things I said about a Nigerian living in the US and the different things I encountered and all of that. I want to hear. I want to know what you have to say. Thank you once more for everything, for all the subscribers. I appreciate you. God bless you. And until next time, have a wonderful, amazing Saturday. Bye.